Hi everyone, I am Navaneeth Krishnan, and in this video we are going to talk about aperture. But what is an aperture? Aperture is basically the second parameter of exposure triangle, which basically deals with depth of field. So we'll get into this topic, but before we get into that, if you are not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe so that you get daily a video to learn photography, Lightroom, Photoshop and Premiere Pro at the very easiest way. So without any further delay, let's get started. Aperture is the second parameter which deals with exposure triangle. So basically, what is an aperture? Aperture is a space through which the light enters the camera, or I have coined a small theory for the understanding of aperture or the aperture parameter, which basically says f equal to 1 by shutter opening. So how would you understand this one? So if the f number is minimum, the shutter opening is maximum. If the f number is maximum, the shutter opening is minimum. So this is what the theory says, that f equal to 1 by shutter opening. So beyond this shutter opening, what is major thing that you can get to know while you tamper with this aperture in your exposure triangle? So the basic thing that comes in picture when you do this is the depth of field. So what is a depth of field? So to understand the depth of field, I introduced you to three characters A, B and C. So we assume a situation such as A and B are in a quite some equal distance and B and C are in the same equal distance as A and B are. So we consider this situation and we try focusing at three different aperture numbers and we see what is the result. Okay, so first for example, let's take the same camera that I am using. Let's say I am having a 7D Mark II with a 50mm prime lens and I am shooting these three characters. So the first thing I set my aperture to is 1.8. that is the maximum aperture of 50mm prime lens. So I choose f equal to f1.8. So and I try to shoot the character A. When I try to shoot the character A, character B and C gets completely blurred at 1.8. So why does this happen? This is the maximum depth of field that is given when you set the aperture to 1.8. But what happens when aperture is set to 5.6 or 6.3 or 8? And as you slowly decrease the aperture, which actually means increasing the f number, as you slowly decrease the aperture and go up to 22, when you reach 22, you can see all the three characters are completely visible, and you make a frame in which all the three characters gain the equal amount of sharpness. So that is basically what you see, this depth of field. So this basic thing of depth of field is basically dealt with aperture. After we talk about depth of field, there is something called as the controlling of light, which basically a camera, as all of us are fascinated by controlling of light through a camera. So basically, how does this light gets controlled when you tamper with this aperture? So basically, when you set your aperture to 1.8, the shutter opening is maximum. So the amount of light entering the camera will be maximum. So the same way, when you set your aperture to 22, the shutter opening will be very minimal, and so the light entering the camera will be very minimal. And so it is not just setting the aperture you can achieve the best photograph, but by setting the aperture you can get the best depth of field. But for getting the perfect exposure, we have to control the shutter speed as well as the ISO along with the aperture to get the best exposure for your perfect image. So hope this video was very helpful for you. So we'll come up with more amazing videos. Until then, follow me on Instagram. Thank you.